Okay, welcome to part 2 of getting creative with layers and masking. And what we've actually got to the stage of now is actually we've subtracted the subject from the background. Now, having done that and viewing the file since I actually last saved it, I have noticed that I've actually gone wrong somewhere. And in this section, I've actually lost a little bit of the horse. Now, the problem I've got is I've subtracted it and I've flattened the layers and then found out that I've gone wrong. So I think this is really important because this is something everybody can do and it's how to put it right. Okay, the beauty of when we actually began the lesson, and that I emphasise to everybody, is always save the background layer and produce duplicates and leave the original alone. So below this, if I just hide this and we turn on the background, we've still got the information there that I need to get back. So what's the easiest way to go about this now, to actually do this? Well, all I need to do is on this layer, what I need to do is to make a selection, and I'm actually going to just use the lasso tool, and I'm going to draw a selection just around this area because it's a very small area. I don't need to be, you know, and if you've added too much or you haven't added enough, you can actually use subtract and take parts off or whatever. Now I'm going to make sure that I've got all of this as well. So I think I have on that. Let's just hide this. Yeah, so it's just that bit we're actually missing of the horse. It's just a tiny little bit, but it's great that we've done that because now we can correct it. So by using the background layer, all I need to do now is to go to Edit, Copy. Now I'm going to click on the top layer. I've still got the selection there. Edit and paste into place. So it's Edit, Paste Special, paste into space, and now you can see that we've got that little bit to put on a layer above in exactly the right place. So that's just really important to do, is always save your background and remain this as a PSD file so you can get back to that. Also, I noticed just while I'm looking now, I've got a little bit of haze around the nose there now. It's been a bit overcritical maybe, but I can correct that. Let's just get my eraser tool. Now we've got to use the, we could actually use a mask. Right, before we go any further, let's merge this top layer down to the other one. So we go to merge down, and then we've added that on to that layer now. So we've merged it down, so we've got all of that now enclosed. There might be a tiny bit there. Tiny, I don't think that really matters, to be honest, but you could get rid of that. But I'm not going to at this stage. It's next to nothing. That tiny little bit there. If I was being really nitty-picky, I would do that. But let's just delete this part. So we've got to use the eraser tool in this case. So we make the brush really small, and we don't go over the line. I'm just going to get rid of a little bit of that. So I'm getting too close. Just neaten it up and do a little bit at a time, just like when we was painting before. You can always, if you let go of the mouse and you've gone wrong, you can always click on undo. If you keep the mouse button down, try and do the lot in one go, and you do go wrong. So let's say, you know, you've had it down for a good minute deleting areas, and then you suddenly go over into the selection and you undo it, it undoes everything. If you let go of the mouse, it just allows you to undo that last bit that you've done. And that really is all that I need to do. Oh, let's do this bit while I'm here, I might as well. So we'll put this right. There you are. So now we've got more or less the perfect selection. I may just smooth this over. And remember, you still, if you was to go wrong and you've completely missed something, you've always got that background layer to steal pieces off to get it back. Just a little bit here. You can use an actual mask at this. You could mask this, put a mask on. It wouldn't allow us to get anything back, but it would allow us to paint things out without actually deleting it. So, you know, if you're not 100% sure that you can freehand do it, you know, without complications, use a mask, and you can always add parts back to the original image, to this part of the image, not the original image. Okay, there we go. So that's neatened that up. That's made me happy. Okay, so there we go. Now, what we're going to do now is, I've actually got a background, and we're going to put this now, we're going to pull it off this image. We'll still keep this saved, so I'm just going to update that now. I'm just going to go to File, Save, because I want to keep all that there. If anything goes wrong, I can always come back to this image and put things right. But what I'm going to do is, we open the image we want to put it on. This is one of my photos, unlike the other one of the horse. So this is just a photo that I'm going to use for a background as an example. So we go back to this one, we click on the Move tool, making sure we're on the layer with the horse and the girl on. I hold down the mouse and I drag it over this tab and I let go. And that will put it on the image. Now in Photoshop these days, you can resize and keep things in perspective simply by going to the corner and dragging. You never used to be able to do that. You used to have to hold down Shift to keep the perspective correct, but now you can do that. So I'm going to resize the horse. May make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so I'll do, I press enter on the keyboard or click the tick on the options bar to say yes, I've finished my transformation. Let's just click on another tool now to take that highlighting off, and there we have the horse. Now what I want to do with this is, we've got this light coming in from the left, which is handy because the light on the face is coming in the same direction. That's always something to look at. If it wasn't, always flip the image round, your background round, so you've got the light coming more or less in the same direction as your subject. So you can see she's got more light on this side of the face, the horse's head is more lighted there. But really this area will be darker. So that's what we're going to emulate now. It's looking at the light source and it's trying to get the shading correct on the image. So I need to go to my layers, and I'm going to duplicate this layer by right clicking and then duplicate layer, click on OK. And we're going to change the layer mode of this. At the moment where you've got normal, I'm going to change it to, let's have a look, multiply. And I'll click colour burn, as I missed, there we go. And that darkens it, but it darkens it in places where I don't want it dark. In some cases the face is too dark, the hair's too dark, I want to bring a bit of light back to the front of the horse. But it gives a nice shading, and we can alter that by simply changing the opacity of the layer. So let's get the shading that I want for the back of the horse, and I would say something like that. Yeah, and you'll notice also, because we've done that, if you look at the mane now, we've got these artifacts coming through a little bit more that we couldn't see before. Now we could delete some of that, but I'm not too worried about that. I think if we hide that layer, they're not too visible. Let's just go to this layer, we'll hide this one. This is quite nasty there, so we'll again use the eraser tool and we'll just take that out very carefully, and anything else we can see. I may get rid of that hair there and there just to make those shorter. I think the rest is not too bad, and it will look better also in a moment. So I'm only looking for areas that look bad. Probably get rid of a lot of this up here. Just take this area out. Now we can't use that brush this time, so we could have done that before, but I think the selection is good enough. We always have to just neaten up a little bit. That's looking okay now. I'm happy with that, just a bit there. Okay, so that won't look as bad anyway in a moment, because what I'm going to do is, because the light's coming from the left to the right, this area of the head I want to make lighter. So let's go back to this, where we can really see now that it's showing up again, because we haven't adjusted this layer, but that doesn't matter because we're going to put a mask on that, and using a black brush. So I'm using a black brush, make sure it's got a soft edge, and remember I'm on this top one, which is the multiply layer, and what I'm going to do without using the black brush, I'm just going to paint out, and because we're on the multiply layer, that's showing the layer underneath, and it's adding this light to the horse's head where the sun would be, and also on the model the light's coming from this direction, and the air is very dark. I want to bring a bit of light back into this air. And if we double click, you can just see now, if we put that on and off, we've just made that look more realistic by adding that bit of light effect to it and darkening the rest of the horse. So that's a trick and a technique that you can use. Also, I may want to add a bit of the colour, the background to this. And with being a white horse, it's not going to affect it a great lot, but it will affect it a tiny bit. And if you've took a picture from another image and you put it onto a different background, sometimes it's nice just to add some colour over the top of everything, just to give it all the same ethereal effect, if you want to put it like that. So it looks like it was actually in the place and it's got the same lighting effect. And the way I'm going to do that is to right click on the background and duplicate that, duplicate the layer and drag that to the very top. So we drag it up on the list on the layers palette, and then we're going to blur that. So I'll go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we can blur this quite a bit actually. So I'm going to blur it about 140, something like that. Click on OK, and then I change the layer mode to soft light, and that just adds the colour of that background. It just gives a bit more atmosphere to it, so it looks like it's in the same place and dimension as the background. We can take the opacity down slightly if you wanted, just a little bit, just to brighten it up a little bit, and there we go. So that really is just a few little tricks. There's lots more obviously to give you a realistic looking image, and using those techniques to get that perfect selection. Okay, and I think that works nice. It looks nice on that background. There's a lot more we could do. I'm not really sure. I'm working on my laptop at the moment. I'm not really sure of the power of this, because the next thing I'm actually going to try requires a really good high spec PC in most cases. So I've got my old MacBook Pro here, which has got 16 megabyte of RAM, quite a small graphics card, but let's have a go. What I want to do first of all is these two layers that I've got the multiply layer and the girl on, so these two layers, I want to merge those together. So I go to the top one, I right click and I go to merge down. Make sure you don't click on the other ones, just merge down. So it must be so hard, both, you must make sure you're on the top one of both those layers to do that. So you merge it down to the one below. So now it's put that effect onto this image, onto this single one. And I'm going to duplicate this. So we're protecting what we've got. That's really important because we could might make a right hack of it. So we need a copy, and I need to hide the one below it. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do now is to make this horse look like he's rearing up on its legs. And I'm not going to do that by rotating the old image. I'm just going to do it sort of from the front of the horse. So to do that, I'm going to go to Edit. And I'm going to click on Puppet Warp. And what that does, it puts this mesh over the selection. Well, it's not a selection, it's over the entire image, and the entire image in this case is just what's on that layer. So it's the horse. Now, this is quite tricky. You need to practice this quite a lot, because what we've got to do is to put anchor points on this image where we don't want it to move, and anchor points from where we want to move it. Well, I want to move the legs around, I want to move the whole front of the horse, but I don't want any of the back to move. So the first thing I'm going to do is to click on these areas. So I'm creating pins that hold that down in place. So I don't want to affect the girl. So I'm going to click on all of these areas at the back. If you get that message, it's just because it's too close to an existing pin, so you need to space it out a bit more. So that should lock that down quite a bit. And then I'm going to click on top of the horse there, and one there. We're going to have to play around with this, but let's see. I'm going to click one on his chest, one on his foot down here, one on his foot down here, maybe one about here. So it's experimenting. I'm not sure whether this is going to work, but we'll see. Right, I'm going to come to this point. I'm going to move his leg. You can see now, I can move his leg around. And I'm going to drag this head up. Now I know it looks horrible at the moment, but I'm going to move this one as well. So it's just looking at the perspective of the horse. I'm going to bring his chest up. I need to take that in there, so I'm going to put another point on there to take this in. There we're looking. Let's bring his foot up again. I'm going to bring this foot round. Probably need another pin there. One here. So I can add pins at any stage. Didn't really want that pin there. I'm not sure whether I can delete. Let's try backspace. Yeah. So if you click on one and press backspace, that will delete it. Now this leg's looking really weird. I need to adjust this to get it looking right. So it is really playing around with the image. It's not looking too bad. Maybe this one. I need to click on that, bring that up a little bit. think it's crumping a little bit on the back, so we'll bring that up. Bring this one up. Bring the nose up. Let's have a look. Loose up a little bit. It needs to come in, I think. It's just like I'm having difficulty with just making it look realistic. That's a bit better. Okay, I'm going to click on the tick now. And there we go. We've now got a horse that's leaping up in the ground. So we did have that. And now we've got that. So something else to add to your creativity and to have a play with and try out. Now it's not perfect there, but you can play about it on much longer than me to play around, and you will get good results. And remember, you can't always warp this again slightly to put things right. I could probably bring this in a little bit. You can't put one point on and do that, because if you do that you move the whole lot. You've got to pin the rest of the image down to actually do that. But it's not too bad, I don't think. That's a bit of creativity. So just things you can do to add to that. Let's think of anything else we can do. Always remember, you can always add light and lighting effects. So if you use the lasso tool and you feather it, that's the important thing. Put a feather on there. Let's try about 60. And let's say I wanted to darken just this part down of the horse a little bit. So if I draw a section around this area like that, and it's got a big feather on, so it'll give me a soft effect. And then go to the curves, go to the middle and drag it downwards, and I can just add a little bit more shadow to that side of the image. I think probably we need a bit more around here as well, so I'm going to draw around that area there, maybe this area, after that. Let's do that again, so we just do exactly the same again. Bring that down a little bit. And there is our completed image, which is quite different from the actual original that we had. So lots of things to practice there. So have a go at that, see how you get on. For my personal students, all those files will be available to use. I think Mr. Wiggin, who took the photograph, has agreed that the students can play around with that, so something to have a go at. Okay, thank you for that. All the best from me.